I have the next player, another wide receiver, second wide receiver of the evening, and I feel like there's going to be some indecisiveness here between some of us. Jerry Jeudy. Now, he's coming from Alabama, moving to Denver Broncos, and just putting it in perspective, Alabama have managed to produce stuff like Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley, all very high up at the moment in the NFL. So, are you targeting Jerry Jeudy this season?
Probably not. Right, I love Jerry Jeudy. I love Drew Lock. I think the Broncos are going to do amazing this year. I just don't know what route they're going to take to be amazing. I don't know if all of a sudden Melvin Gordon is going to be that superstar running back you need, and he's going to take 60 passes this year, and that's going to eat into his targets. You know, last year they had Cortland Sutton running all over the pitch like a madman. He was basically the only person who could catch a ball on that team. And they had Joe Flacco for the majority of the season, and Cortland Sutton still put up great numbers. They drafted 2 great wide receivers. They'd got Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler. I think Hamler's going to be great in the slot, and I think he's going to be great for yards after catch. And I think Jerry Jeudy is probably one of the most polished outside receivers coming into the league off of this year's draft. It's just a bit scary that for this team to be good, Drew Lock has to make that step up. And I'd love to believe he is. I love taking him real late in a draft just in case he does pop off. But, oh boy, that's a lot of risk.
Just for context, this is a 10, 12-man PPR redraft. In Dynasty, yes, get him, taxi him, or play him. I think, as the Bear points out, you've got Lindsay as well, pass-catching back.
Yep.
Third down plays may bring in. He's shown he's good. And the only thing that worries me is Drew Lock, yes, we keep talking extrapolate out last season games, but there's so much that's going to change this year, and that conference and division they're in is so tough. But if you did look at Melvin Gordon having a stormer, and the only reason I'm higher on Jerry Jeudy than others is Keenan Allen, Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler, and Mike Williams were all relevant fantasy assets in the Chargers, who have a worse O-line, arguably a worse defensive line apart from Bosa and some secondary. And the quarterback was too busy adding another kid to his roster than using accuracy.
Amen, brother.
So, you know what? Amen. If he goes for number 10 in fair play, he needs to get number 10, does Philip. But as I can call him, I'm one of his mates. Legit. Jerry Jeudy, yeah, I would take him late round. I'd also say, out of all the rookies, wide receivers we've talked about, I think he has the greatest potential to go off. Because if anything happens to Cortland Sutton, sweet Lord, his numbers jump through the roof. While at Dallas, we talked about CeeDee Lamb, you've got Amari Cooper and Gallup to fight for. Other wide receivers will touch upon, have people in their way. Jerry Jeudy has one person.
I'd argue there's one other wide receiver I'd rather take a punt on in this year's rookie class over Jerry Jeudy, but I'm sure we'll touch on him in a little bit. But he's such a good player, Jerry Jeudy. Just go watch some of his college highlights on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, click pause, open a new tab, go watch some highlights, and then come back and understand why I love this kid.
Don't forget to open a new tab.
New tab. Don't look. We need to get our watching time up, all right? So stay online, but just check out this kid, man. He's so good. And if Drew Lock makes that step, you're picking up a league-winning wide receiver in the 12th round.
Yeah, I can't see him. If anyone takes him earlier, as I say, profit for their mistakes. But in a redraft PPR league, even in a 12-man, if he goes any earlier than the 11th round in that.
Look, I'm just at the moment what I'm getting and what I'm enjoying is the fact that there are so many different opportunities that you can take late in the draft. Find some sleepers. They may not produce, but they may. There are some gold mines here. But if someone takes them in the 11th, 10th round, you're like, really annoying. I was going for that. There is many more opportunities out there that aren't bad, and I feel like Jerry Jeudy is just one of those. So, moving on to another player that I particularly want to... Once again, this is it. There's so many good opportunities. Justin Jefferson, moving over to the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I'm super excited because he's falling behind Thielen, who won't be moved from wide receiver 1. I think anyone can admit to that, but there's still plenty of targets. Diggs, was still a very good fantasy producer out there. Now he's moving in. Justin Jefferson's moving into that position. I don't see anyone else taking wide receiver 2 there. Last year he did 111 receptions in LSU, which is massive, for 1,540 yards and 18 touchdowns. Now that was only he only trailed Jamar Chase, who's his teammate, who wasn't eligible to be in the draft this year. So next year, look out for him. He is coming. I swear he is going to be massive. But for this year anyway, Justin Jefferson, I think he's going to be absolutely massive with the Vikings. I think he's going to slot in next to Thielen very nicely and take up all those targets that Diggs has left behind.
I literally couldn't agree more. My take on him is he's just going to, realistically, the only real name in that wide receiver room, Adam Thielen. Diggs vacates 94 targets. I'd imagine Justin Jefferson comes in and soaks up at least 80, 85 of those. We talked about Stephon Diggs consistently being a good wide receiver 2. You imagine there'll be some kind of learning curve, so maybe we're looking at more of a flex than a wide receiver 2 value from Justin Jefferson as his ceiling. I think a lot of it will be potentially matchup dependent as well. You don't know how he's going to deal against NFL level corners and safeties, and the Vikings are a run heavy offense. But as with so many of these names, we're looking at a player you're taking 13th round potentially with Justin Jefferson, 12th, 13th round if you have to take him, and so much upside for someone who could end up being this year's Stephon Diggs.
Yeah,
I think he goes earlier than the 12th round.
His current ADP is 121.
Is it really?
In PPR.
Interesting.
So yeah, I think he goes. Yeah, this is quite funny. Like, I think he goes in the 12th round. Yeah, his current ADP is 121. Like, ADPs change all the time to back up the zebra here. And like, if you get a feel, and if there's any rumors about Thielen, if he goes anywhere near that COVID IR before our draft at the end of August.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Oh, how high does he shoot? I mean, this is it. We talked about Jerry Jeudy only having to beat out Cortland Sutton to get. Anything happens to Thielen, who are the Vikings meant to pass to? Who's their next wide receiver 3? I mean, we talked about Denver having KJ Hamler, and they're all right. Vikings are a run-heavy team. Justin Jefferson. Have you seen the stuff he's put on Instagram? His route running, his ability to get separation, his air height, the ability he can jump is incredible. And do you know what? If I was Thielen, I'd be quite worried. And I think second half of the season, I wouldn't be surprised to see Jefferson actually being targeted more. But the only thing that is probably going to stop Jefferson going too high is Kirk Cousins, who, bless him, as the Vikings put out, if you've seen it on social media, look, catch Kirk Cousins' ball, and all the fans were hilariously just filming a ball just flying past him trying to catch it. And I think Diggs and Thielen could have had better numbers, and the reason why they're a run-heavy team, Kirk Cousins' accuracy, and especially in big games, the pressure gets to him and lets him down. I think that's the only thing limiting Jefferson this year is the quarterback. If he had Mahomes, if he had Dak, if he had Kyler Murray, say he was at Arizona and Hopkins wasn't there, how much higher would he be? Is my point. So I think his landing spot, I still think the Vikings got incredible value. I think he was 25th in the first. Incredible value. And yeah, I think it's only Jerry Jeudy or CD Lamb that can outscore him this year.
The only other little concern is he lined up a vast majority of snaps at LSU out of the slot. Now, to step into that Stephon Diggs role, you are going to have to be proficient at lining up outside as a X or Y receiver, But he's a good player. I don't see why he can't learn that. He's fast enough as well. So, again, great value, man. I've not really spent too much time looking into rookies, and I'm glad we did this episode because I've looked through so many of them, and now I feel like I'm going to get to 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th rounds, and I'm just going to be spending more time trying to work out who I'm picking than I am in the first 5 because there's so many great flyers you can take round here.
Yeah, agreed.
And again, if you're listening from our league, don't pick any of these.
If you're listening, Rob,
leave them all
keep
to
paying
us.
for your little service, and we'll see you in the finals, mate.
And Rob,
right,
keep paying
fantastic.
people to do your draft. You wang.
So anyway, moving on to our last wide receiver of the night, Henry Ruggs III, moving to the Raiders. I don't really have many high hopes for him. I'm not looking at him in the draft. I don't know if any of you two are a bit more enthusiastic about this player. I think Raiders doesn't excite me that much. His college numbers don't excite me that much compared to some of the other rookies. Happy to hear your thoughts.
All I'll say is he's a very John Gruden draft pick. He was the fastest player at the combine, and I feel like any analyst should have looked at that and gone, "Oh, we know who Gruden's drafting this year," because just goes. I guess all you can hope for is he's trying to fill that Antonio Brown role they had in mind from last year, but it's just a difficult team to get excited about, especially with a move to a new city this year.
I think the Raiders could have traded back and got him later. That's what, if you were a Raiders fan, would frustrate you. And yes, he's a deep ball threat. That's all he is. He's a speed demon, deep ball threat. Comparing him to Antonio Brown as a replacement, I can't say it. And he's hurt himself coming into the season. He's injured. I think in our league he'll go undrafted. I honestly think in some other leagues he'll be left on the waiver wire. And he's just a bit smaller than me in real life, which is weird because on the football field. Yeah, he's 6 foot. He's 183 centimeters for our European listeners. And at Alabama, even when he had Tua, he didn't put up big numbers. So for me, I think the Zebra and the Bear have said it. I'd maybe waiver wire stash him, just put like an eye on him. Or maybe he's worth like your 16th pick in a draft or 15th. Sure. Depends on your league and where you're playing. Dynasty, yep, taxi him. Get him, taxi him. Yeah, I actually think the Raiders... Can you see him going deep that much? Has Derek Carr actually thrown deep that much ever?
Well, has he had the player to throw deep to? I mean...
Amari Cooper, he had.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last year... Admittedly, no, but they did have them. They just were crap. And the Raiders, he's a game manager, Derek Carr. He's not a gunslinger. He's not your Jameis Winston. He's not going to be taking deep shots like Rodgers. And for me, I think Ruggs is a weird one. They're trying to use him to separate the secondary and give space into the slots. So actually, I'd look at more Brian Edwards and Hunter Renfrow. Look at Hunter Renfrow's numbers last year. Says it all.
Derek Carr is too beige to be taking those big shots downfield on a regular basis that someone like Ruggs needs to be fed for fantasy.
$30 million a year of beige, though.
Yeah, but it's
similar money to
safe.
Russell Wilson.
I feel like the Raiders are one of those teams who are like, look, we're not going to win a Super Bowl, but we also don't want to be like really, really bad. Derek Carr, he's perfectly good. He's safe. He'll get the job done. We'll be there. We'll go plus or minus 2 games from even every year, and we'll just be happy with that for a few years until we've paid off our new stadium in Vegas.
Which is a good new stadium. It looks amazing.
Awesome. That's one with all the screens.
I didn't realise.
Yeah, the Allegiant in Vegas, yeah.
I didn't realise it was actually on the Strip.
Yeah.
Is it on the Strip?
It's just I think it's at one of the ends anyway, but it's literally at the end you got this amazing new NFL stadium. Think of the traffic they're going to get from there. People just visiting, packed out every day, every game.
Well, not this year. That was the issue. They're trying to get people to stay in Vegas for the Sunday and then into the Monday. So if you go to the football game, then you go back to the casinos.
Yeah.
Which it's going to be a bit of an issue, but if they're allowing people into casinos in America, why can't they allow them into a stadium?
That's a good point.
Possibly not one for us to this side.